College football has a Miami Hurricanes problem again in 2026. And there are a lot of reasons why, but the biggest is something that most people don't even realize yet, or maybe they're just not willing to admit. We'll get to that in just a moment. It's been over a week since Miami lost to Indiana, and usually when a season ends like that, in the national title game, an emotional loss, empty confetti, things start to slow down. Guys leave, staff changes happen, momentum cools off. That hasn't happened down in South Florida. Miami's been active in the portal. They've been retaining top-end talent. And they're very close to landing a quarterback who, I don't say this lightly, might actually be a better fit in Shannon Dawson's offense than we saw from Cam Ward or Carson Beck with their offensive coordinators. So if you're wondering why people around the sport are already uneasy about Miami in 2026, you have to understand that this didn't just start after the Indiana game. To really get it, you've got to go back to 2025. Because 2025 wasn't just about making the playoff. It wasn't just about reaching the national championship game. It wasn't even about giving Indiana a better game than anyone expected, or even statistically outplaying them as a two-score underdog. 2025 was bigger than that. 2025 was the breakthrough year for Mario Cristobal. And yeah, the college football playoff run was a massive part of it. That's obvious. But that wasn't the real breakthrough. The real breakthrough was this. Miami proved that they could win different kinds of games against different kinds of teams without folding when things got uncomfortable. Let's talk about why that matters. Well, first off, they went 3-0 against the SEC. And that's not just fluff. Before anybody tries to downplay it, let's actually talk about who those teams were. Florida was incredibly talented. College Game Day went to the game. They were underachieving for sure. Bad coaching, no identity. But that same Florida team went out and beat Texas' brains in the very next week. So miss me with the bad SEC team argument. Texas A&M, they were a home favorite. They had one loss all season. It was a hostile environment. Miami walked in and handled it perfectly. And then you had Ole Miss, the SEC's final hope, a team riding a ridiculous postseason wave behind Trinidad Chambliss, who felt completely unstoppable. Miami took that guy down, not with gimmicks, not with luck, but by lining up and beating them. That matters because for years, Miami fans have talked about being back, and the rest of the sport rolled their eyes. In 2025, nobody was laughing. Number two, they kept Notre Dame out of the playoffs. This doesn't get talked about enough. Miami solely kept Notre Dame out of the playoff. That's not just another win, that's a brand win. Notre Dame is exactly the kind of team that the College Football Playoff Committee wants involved. They're a big brand. They have a national following. They had 10 straight wins heading into December. They just played for the title a year before. They have a coach that everybody likes and wants to root for. If Miami and Notre Dame had not played but finished with the same record, Notre Dame would have gotten the nod. But Miami didn't leave it up to debate. They physically removed them. That's another signal to this sport. Miami isn't just good, they're in your way. Number three, and maybe most importantly, they learned from their mistakes. Nobody really expected this, but Miami learned. Early in the season, Carson Beck was turning the ball over too much. His first 8 games, he had 9 interceptions. 6 of them came in a brutal 3-week stretch that included both of their regular season losses. Old Miami folds there. 2025, Miami adjusted. They leaned more heavily on the run game. They protected their quarterback. They simplified when needed. Over the final 8 games of the season, including the playoff run, Beck threw just 3 picks. One of them was tipped at the line against Ole Miss. Another was literally the last throw of his season in desperation time. That's growth. That's real growth. And it brings us to 2026. Why does 2026 have people nervous who are watching the Canes? Because Miami hasn't lost any momentum. They're stacking it. Quarterback Darian Mensah is expected to come in and have real upside, mobility, poise, arm talent, and most importantly, he fits what Shannon Dawson wants to do. There's a real argument that Mensah's skill set could unlock more of this offense than Beck's could. and that should scare people. Their running back room with Fletcher, Brown, and depth behind them is one of the best in the country. And Miami now understands how important it is to lean on it early and not as a panic button. They've got weapons everywhere. Malachi Toney is probably where you could start and finish, but he's one of the best playmakers in the sport, full stop. Add in transfer Vandavarius Jacobs. Add in Lofton and other pass catchers who can stress a defense both horizontally and vertically. You're not asking Minson to be Superman, though he can. You're just asking him to distribute. The offensive line's a question right now. Yes, Miami replaces 3 offensive linemen, but Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal are arguably the best offensive line coaching duo in college football. They recruit it, they develop it, they rotate it. There is zero reason to believe that Miami won't be strong up front. What about on the defensive side of the ball? Youth, depth, and coaching are your keys here. The defensive line is loaded with young talent that they can rotate freely, and they brought in a big-time transfer to help with the losses of Bain and Mesidor. The linebackers are solid and athletic. The secondary, not only do you bring back Bryce Fitzgerald, you've got a really healthy mix of vets and young guys who have already played meaningful snaps. And don't forget that Corey Heatherman is an elite defensive coach, quietly one of the best in the country. Although I don't think it'll be too quiet very long before he gets a head coaching job of his own. The coaching staff continuity is a big deal. Shannon Dawson is very good at what he does. And I know he frustrates you guys at sometimes, but he's very good at what he does. This isn't a staff that's learning on the fly. They've been through it. They've adjusted. They've cleaned things up. Look at their schedule. Miami is going to be favored in every game to start the season except for maybe Notre Dame, maybe Clemson on the road. And honestly, I doubt that second one. Some of their bigger games, FSU, Pitt, Virginia Tech, and Duke, all at home. That matters. What about the real advantage that I tried to tell you guys about here earlier? Here's the part that'll get me pushback. Miami currently has a top 5 head coach in college football. And before you lose your mind, rivals and Florida State fans and people that don't like Miami, I get it, but hear me out. Mario Cristobal understands how to hire. And he understands how to fix bad hires. He understands how to adjust. The clock issues, the end of game stuff, those haven't been relevant since 2022. He understands roster construction. Yes, Miami has tons of NIL support. Most elite programs do. The difference is that Miami understands you still have to develop offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Mario builds culture, not slogans, not tweets, culture. And there's a reason he stood on the field and watched Indiana celebrate. I don't know that this guy needed motivation. I don't know that he needed inspiration, but now he's got more of it anyway. College football can look at Miami and the Hurricanes this season and know that this wasn't a fluke. They know Miami reloads, they don't rebuild. And the first time in a long time, this will be true. When Miami fans talk about how good their season is going to be, I don't think the opposing fans are rolling their eyes anymore. They're watching because college football has a Miami Hurricanes problem in 2026, and this time it feels very, very real. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Would love if you subscribed and join us on ACC Football Addiction, and we will talk to you guys on the next one.